Welcome back to Star Trek Online, everybody. I'm your host, the Housecoat Gamer. Today, we are taking a look at the Kirk-Class Temporal Battlecruiser. Of all the things from STD that I despise, this is not one of them. I may as well give some lore on the whole thing, at least presumably lore. Developed directly from ships such as the Wells and Verne classes, the Kirk is an attempt to harken back to the grand old age of exploration by specifically invoking the general design of the Constitution class. Hence its nickname, well, Constitution. Because it looks like the Connie, though its official designation is Kirk-Class, named after, you guessed it, James Tiberius Kirk. The ship incorporates technology first seen by used by the Iconians, such as detached components, and as such is, well, exceedingly alien-looking to the eyes of those in the 24th and 25th centuries. However, it is decidedly Starfleet. And with that out of the way, it's why I'm going to say, anyone complaining about the general design of 32nd century starships? Look, I know where you're coming from, but let's be clear about this. Doesn't look like bad upside down. It seems the STD ship curse returns. Upside down is good. Anyway, because the ship clearly looks like it's evolved from the Verne class and the Wells as a result, I really don't have a problem with that, with the general configuration. And I say this because, well, I have to look at starships a lot for both STO and a mod I'm working on for Empire at War. The head dev apparently is still having issues, so yeah. That's kind of why I don't really have a problem with STD's Season 3 starships. At least the Federation ones. We don't see much of any other power. The flying rainforest thing is dumb, though. I'm not going to deny that. Everything else, perfectly fine. As for the Constitution Kirk thing, just because it was name-dropped as Constitution class does not make it a Constitution class. Naming it after Kirk actually makes sense. Now, stat-wise, she's a 4-3-4. 4 engineering, 3 science, 4 tactical. And while it does come with 32C phasers, I decided to swap out for my elite ones until we get visual weapon slots. Yeah. Might as well go with the best guns I have. Its console, field-replicated buster pods, which basically create VLS missiles that each target a random enemy and explode. Sucks to be them. Its starship trait, of course, is a quote from Kirk. Risk is our business. Activate a captain ability, such as Evasive maneuvers, I think, counts as one of those. You get temporary hit points. If you're surrounded by zero, well, that's an awful lot of health. As for its stations, well, Universal, Lieutenant Commander Command, which I've designated here as, well, a tactical, because you can never have enough guns. Standard Lieutenant Tactical, a Lieutenant Ensign, Temporal Engineering Commander, and Standard Lieutenant Commander Science. And to illustrate what I mean by I really don't have a problem with the general design of the whole thing, this just looks like an evolution of the designs. Yes, we are missing a massive chunk of time between the 26th century and the Enterprise J, and this thing, but this generally looks like an evolution of the Wells class. Yes, I'm aware the Vern skin here isn't exactly 100% the same, but it's close enough. And that's the entire point. For once, they actually followed the design language of the general time frame, which, in this case, is roughly around the 30th and 31st centuries. Which is actually shocking, given that STD kinda sucks at the whole thing. I mean, just look at their Season 1, Season 2 designs. They either look too advanced and too primitive at the same time, or they just don't fit at all. So, I don't have a particular problem with this design, and well, that might be something of a problem, considering that, thanks to Terry Metalis, the prime canological status of STD in Strange New Worlds is now highly in question. After all, the visual continuity of TOS has always been maintained since, well, TOS. TNG, they used the Enterprise bridge. DS9, they actually reproduced the sets to the original specifications. Voyager, they didn't do much TOS stuff there, but they did replicate the Excelsior Bridge as best as they could. The set was demolished after the end of Star Trek VI, after all. Well, after the end of Star Trek Generations. But you get the general idea. And let's not forget, In a Mirror Darkly. Every corridor on the Defiant, the bridge, everything was the same. Then STD threw all that design language and the visual aesthetic out the goddamn window. And then the Bounty comes along and restores that with the USS New Jersey, a TOS Connie. So the status of the canological status of STD and Strange New Worlds, especially with the latest episode of Strange New Worlds, which is also named after an Orville episode, kind of puts the whole thing in flux, doesn't it? Of course, as far as I'm concerned, thanks to those 2 episodes, tomorrow, and tomorrow just flat out ignored everything from Space Seed. Yeah. The status of this vessel is kind of in flux. And again, I don't have a problem with the detached parts. Look at it this way. If Archer had a hard time believing the Enterprise J was what it was, he'd have a harder time with a ship like this. Just as we're having a hard time believing that this ship actually works the way it does. Future tech does that. So, I do not have a problem with most 32C starships. Some are just plain dumb, but this isn't. What do you think? Leave your thoughts in the comments. Housecoat Gaming, signing off.